Also wenn du den gerade finden würdest, oder kannst du ja auch immer, gib einfach das Natte. Der ist speziell. Genau, du müsstest schauen. Kennst du den vielleicht? Der ist eigentlich hier. Das wäre eigentlich der nächste. Ja. Ansonsten frage ich die Telefon haben, sie vielleicht aufrufen. Ist gut. Yeah, it's the 518.8, but it's a very long one, you know. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I decided to read the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18:8. So it's a very long verse. I don't know how many of you have their smartphones and the verse available. Otherwise, I would just chant it once. Maybe that's a more practical solution. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Chastechase Avir Avir Bhava. Vacharana Kavachadamstra Karmashayan. Randhaya Randhaya Dhamokrasa Krasa Om Swaha. Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta. Om Kshraum. I also skipped the line, not a word by word, we can read. Om. O Lord, Namaha, my respectful obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narasimhaya, known as Lord Narasimha, Namaha, obeisances, Techa Chechase, the power of all power. Avirbhava. No, it's Avirbhava. Please be fully manifest. Vajranaka. O you who possesses nails like thunderbolts. Vajradamshtra. O you who possesses teeth like thunderbolts. Karma Ashayan, demoniac desires to be happy by material activities. Randhaya Randhaya, kindly vanish. Dhamaha, ignorance in the material world. Grasa, kindly drive away. Grasa, kindly drive away. Om, O my Lord. Svaha, respectful oblations. Abhayam, fearlessness. Abhayam, fearlessness. Atmani, in my mind. Bhuyishtaha, may you appear. Om, O Lord. Kshraum, the bija or seed of mantras, offering prayers to Lord Narasimha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimha Dev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 4.22.39, Sanat Kumara speaks the following words to Maharaj Prithu. Devotees always engaged in the service of the toes of the Lord's lotus feet can very easily become free from hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, cannot stop the waves of sense gratification, although they try to do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Every living being within this material world has a strong desire to enjoy matter to his fullest satisfaction. For this purpose, the conditioned soul must accept one body after another, and thus his strongly fixed fruitive desires continue. One cannot stop the repetition of birth and death without being completely desireless. Therefore, Sri Rupa Goswami describes pure bhakti as follows: Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadya navritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain, through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Unless one is completely freed of all material desires which are caused by the dense darkness of ignorance, one cannot fully engage in devotional service of the Lord. Therefore we should always offer our prayers to Lord Narasimha, who killed Hiranyakashipu, the personification of material desire. Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means a soft cushion or bed. Materialistic persons always desire to make the body comfortable, and for this they require huge amounts of gold. Thus Hiranyakashipu was the perfect representative of materialistic life. He was therefore the cause of great disturbance to the topmost devotee Prahlad Maharaj, until Lord Narasimha killed him. Any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer his respectful prayers to Narasimha, as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. Om Akyana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Garamayam Dadati Svabarantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmir Yasya Chavakshasi Yasya Te Hridaye Samvit Tam Narasimham Maham Bhaje. I also will read the translation of this prayer to Lord Narasimha. Lord Narasimha is always assisted by Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and is always embracing to his chest the goddess of fortune. The Lord is always complete in knowledge within himself. Let us offer obeisances unto Narasimha. That's a verse from Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think a beautiful prayer to speak to the Lord, because Narasimha is not only the protector, but he is also the Supreme Lord in terms of Chit Shakti, means the power of consciousness. So he says, the prayer says, Saraswati always assists him, the goddess of fortune always is present right at his chest. So therefore, if one wants to develop knowledge, if one wants to speak on transcendental subject matters, it is very important to also offer our obeisances to, on this particular occasion, also to Lord Narasimha. So most of you are familiar with the pastime. You have heard probably several times or many times about Lord Narasimha, and you also know that this pastime actually takes up a lot of space, so to speak, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's quite elaborate. If you look at, For example, the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, there are quite a few verses. And also the story before. So as we know the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many stories connecting with each other. There's a story within a story, and like it has quite a chain of events that lead to one particular event. So and if we take a look, usually when we think of Lord Narasimha, probably the three personalities, Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu, or Narasimha, are in our mind in the first place. This could be like the first circle in the center. And if we have a circle around that, where other personalities also are involved, let's say the brother of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, on one hand, then there's also Varahadeva, of course, who killed then Hiranyaksha, like another form of the Lord. And there's a personality like Narada Muni. He's also involved, particularly in regards to the wife of Hiranyakashipu. She's called Kayadu, or Kayadhu, that's her name. It's also important to hear about the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, because she's a very important person. And if you take then another outer circle, we can think of Kashyapa Muni and Diti, the parents of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and so on. So there are different layers and levels of the story, and I would like to start from the outer circle a bit, entering into the inner circle. Because I think there are a few details that are important to note in this regard. So we know that Kashyapa Muni and Diti, they are both Prajapatis, means they're responsible for populating the universe. And we know from Diti came the demons, and from Aditi, another wife, they came the demigods. So, but both of them, demigods and demons, they originate from these Prajapatis. So everyone comes from God at the end, because the Prajapatis come from Brahma, he comes from Vishnu, and so on. So Diti, because of the inauspicious time where she pushed Kashyapa Muni for sexual intercourse, caused herself a pregnancy in which she had to bear like the two great demons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And realizing that it is a really bad thing, she tried to prolong her pregnancy even for a long time, even like up to 100 years. And it gave a lot of trouble to the universe itself, because the presence of these two personalities was extremely powerful in a negative sense. But at the end, of course, she had to give birth to them. And I think important to notice also that they are twins. I'm not sure whether they would be one-act twins or two-act. It may not make too much of a difference, but I would later get back to a bit of a psychology of the two. But one can say they are one of a kind, because also in their behavior and their nature, it was obvious they resemble each other very much. At the end, in their original spiritual form, they're Jai and Vijay, so they must be very close. And although Hiranyaksha was born first, he was considered to be the younger one, because in the Vedic understanding, the twins, like the one that comes first, is not the first, but actually the one situated behind in the womb would be the first. So therefore, Hiranyakashipu was considered the older one, although being born second. And it is said that Hiranyaksha was always very enthusiastic to please Hiranyakashipu. And pleasing meant that he would terrorize the whole universe, other living beings, cause a lot of trouble to others, and capture wealth. And that would be pleasing to Hiranyakashipu. They both were yakshas, rakshasas, or like rakshasa means someone who is drinking blood. Also, Hiranyaksha was fond of drinking blood of other creatures, maybe men, humans, demigods, and so on. So that's a bit about the nature of the two of them. And Diti, although being in this really unfortunate situation, having given birth to these two, she was regretting already her, misbehavior toward Kashyapa Muni, so that she pushed him at the wrong time. And because of her regret, she got blessed by Kashyapa Muni that she will have a grandson who will be a great devotee. So who's that? That's Prahlad Maharaj. So he will. So that's how it came that Prahlad Maharaj took birth in that family. So Hiranyaksha was slain by Varahadev after a very spectacular fight at the end with his hoof. Narasimhadev kind of he hit him somewhere on a spot on the ear. There was something, I don't know, some powerful spot, I don't know, that caused Hiranyaksha that his eyes popped out of the eye sockets, and then he died. So this was the end of the fight. So, and when Hiranyakashipu learned about the death of Hiranyaksha, he was extremely upset. He got really, really angry. Like, it was not just, oh, my brother died. For him, it was like a world crashed. And perhaps that's something also about, maybe we can consider that. It's also said when twins are there, like if they're one act. I don't know if someone of you a twin of someone else? No? Well, maybe you know someone. They usually they are said to have a special connection. They also sense if something is wrong with the other, and even if one twin would die, and then it would affect the other twin somehow. Particularly if they're one act, I guess, but also if they're two act, because they share the same womb, they have a different kind of bond. So for Hiranyakashipu, it was very upsetting. And of course, one can also see later on, he also took advantage of the situation to justify his need to oppose Vishnu. But then he declared that Vishnu now gave away his cheating nature. He's partial. He killed the demon in favor of the demigods, so like that. So therefore, he vowed, he made a firm vow, I will kill Vishnu. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Shishikonitai ki jai. So this very much upsetted him, and he instructed his followers. He was very strategic because he was also a great military commander. And we could consider that because he's coming, or like they both were coming in the line of great Brahmins, not just Brahmins, but actually demigods. They were equipped with high intelligence. They were equipped with Vedic knowledge and certain ability, certain power by nature. But they were at the same time affected by the demonic tendencies coming from that at the time when they were, received. That gave a very bad toxic combination, But they had spiritual knowledge also. So he was strategic, and he said Vishnu is being nurtured by sacrifice. He's being nurtured by the Brahmins and so on. Destroy all these things. Go where the Brahmins are. Go where cows are. Go where sacrifices are being performed, and destroy it all. So like as a military commander looks at where are the resources of the opponent and destroy this systematically, and then we will get him at the end, and also the conquer demigods. So, and ultimately, of course, he wanted to kill the Lord. So and then it also started. The followers of Hiranyakashipu, all the yakshas, rakshasas, demons, they started to create havoc on the earth and other planets. So, and another interesting thing is when Hiranyaksha died, Hiranyakashipu then, as the head of the family, so to speak, he pacified the other family members by speaking transcendental knowledge. That's a very fascinating chapter, so to say, in the story, that he, I will read you a few sentences that he says. Just give me a second. Hiranyakashipu told them, just like people gather in a restaurant to eat and drink, and after they finish their eating and drinking, they leave the restaurant and go to their respective desired places. In the same way, living entities gather in some family, and then, according to the result of their karma, they proceed towards their destinations. The soul knows no death, because the soul is eternal and imperishable. The soul can go anywhere, either in the material world or in the spiritual world, due to being free from material contamination. The soul is full of knowledge and completely different from the material body, but because the soul has misused his limited independence, he has been compelled to accept this gross and subtle body which manifests from material nature. Because of this, he has to enjoy so-called happiness and distress. That is why one should not lament for the soul when it leaves the body. Wise words with no practical consequence for him, at least. So it's interesting, this is how he pacified his family members, but he himself was completely, let's call it even obsessed with this angry grief he had. He didn't consider, oh yeah, Hiranyaksha now left this body, he is not this body, so no reason to grieve. For him it was like, he spoke words on one side, but his mentality and behavior was completely different. And it's also said that spiritual knowledge is useless unless one also becomes a devotee. Also Srila Prabhupada in many places in the first chapters of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, it's not enough to know that you're a spirit soul, you also have to act as one. Let's say engage in the service of the Lord and act accordingly, perform tapasya. So just knowing these things is not enough. And also it will not be powerful. So that's maybe an interesting lesson on that. So then he decided to perform severe austerities in order to attain his goal of defeating Vishnu. This is the culture, you can see many examples of people. We also see later when Bali Maharaj also does that. He performs particular sacrifices, austerities to become powerful in order to conquer the heavenly planets. But Hiranyakashipu was extraordinarily capable of performing tapasya, because his tapasya was unmatched. It actually almost exceeded the level of Brahma's tapasya. Brahma also did for 100 years, 100 celestial years. I now forgot to take down the number, but it's a long time in the heavenly planets. So he himself had an extremely long lifespan, obviously. He spent 100 years of it, like 100 heavenly years like this, with this tapasya. And it went so far that he practically had almost no body anymore, which is unlike, you never hear of any yogi that they practically, how to say, are being reduced down to their skeleton. How does a body even work if it has no organs anymore and skin, you know? But somehow Hiranyakashipu went so far, or he could go so far, that only his bones were left from his tapasya. And he lost his bones actually not simply because he didn't, he lost his organs and stuff not only by not eating by the severe tapasya, but because also ants gathered around. We know that actually the skeleton was covered by an anthill and bamboo sticks and so on. And his presence, this, because like if a soul performs this tapasya, the soul manifests an intense energy that can even destroy. It's like just an power. It's like pure power, so to speak, and it could destroy the universe even if a soul is powerful enough. So the demigods went to Brahma and said, "Listen, he performed this tapasya based on his transcendental knowledge, because he also knew he's more than this body and he can attain more." And then Brahma went there, and Brahma himself, it is described, he was very impressed. He was very impressed by this tapasya. He said, "I haven't seen something like that before." Someone sustaining himself over such a long time, even without a drop of water. You know, sometimes you hear tapasya is like performed in gradual steps. You know, you fast and you eat. Like Dhruva Maharaj. First he ate maybe once a day, then every second day, and then it prolonged, and then a few weeks, and then with water the same. And then even with breathing, I don't know how, I can't even imagine that, like that you take one breath a day, something like that. That's, some advanced yogis can do that. So, but here Hiranyakashipu went to a level where there were no lungs to breathe in and out with, and there was nothing to But somehow he could hold his life air within the bones. And as we say, as it was said, Brahma was very impressed by that, and he offered him boons, because he said, okay, you're deserving. I mean, and anyway, what to do if someone is so powerful? You got to reciprocate with that person. And first of all, he put out of Brahma has this little water pot called Kamandalu, and a little drop of this water, is nectarian water, restored Hiranyakashipu's body. He was back, so to say, in his shape, with a very powerful, beautiful, useful body. And he was very happy to see Brahma. He was so moved, even tears in his eyes, offered his obeisances, and was very eager to present the boons he wanted from Brahma. And of course, first he asked him practically, make me immortal. And then Brahma said, no, I can't do that. I myself am not. And then Hiranyakashipu, like, as we all know, he figured out, okay, let me ask differently. Let me negate all kinds of options how I could die. So in this way I will get immortal. So then we know all that. He cannot be killed by day, by night, by no living entity, and so on. But what he didn't include, and also couldn't include anyway, is the time factor. You know, at the end, even if you terminate all kinds of options how you can die, and we cannot say I'm above time. Although Brahma is, it is said sometime in some places, one place in Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma is addressed as Vibhu. You know, we know Vibhu and Anu. Vibhu is because the Lord is unlimitedly great, and Anu, we are very small. And in this regard, it's explained that Vibhu also means above time, that Brahma is called Trikalagya. He knows past, present, future, but is even situated above time. Sometimes you hear different descriptions, because he can be also, he can be Shaktavesha avatar, but he can also, not Shaktavesha, Guna avatar as a jiva, but also partial expansion of Vishnu. So then Hiranyakashipu was blessed with these abilities. And the first thing he did is he started conquering the universe. And he succeeded. He was more powerful than anyone else, and came to reside in Indraloka, or on Indraloka. And he controlled just all the functions the demigods usually would do. He didn't even need the demigods anymore, as explained. Simply by his own power, the fire element, the water element, air, like he just did it. Practically, but the demigods, they of course were there, and they surrendered to his will. They had to worship him. It said the only demigods who didn't, or like gods who didn't, was Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. You know, they didn't have to. They were still. Also, he, I guess, considered them still kind of superior. So in this way, he was practically God. That was also what he wanted. He actually asked Brahma, more or less. Wait, I have the wording here. I don't find it, but he said that he actually desired, like when Brahma was given the boon, give me sovereignty, or that I can rule over all the living entities. That was his desire. And since we speak of desires, that's what in the verse we read today, where Prahlad Maharaj is praying. Prahlad Maharaj is identifying the actual issue or the enemy as exactly these desires. Prahlad made a very intelligent choice when he was asked by Lord Narasimha to get the blessing. You know, the blessings, or like what Hiranyakashipu considered a blessing, Prahlad considered a great impediment, or even would be a curse. You know, he said, okay, please, the only thing I want, because Narasimha kind of in a tricky way offered him everything. He said, it's my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living entities, so ask me whatever you want. And having in mind, you could even be instead of your father's, you know, place, you can rule and everything. But he said, no, I don't want that. What I want is, please make me free from all material desires. That was his desire. So a very intelligent desire, to say he understood, because he saw firsthand what material desires can do to a person. Hiranyakashipu was very powerful, and he considered himself in a superior position, being free and able to rule, superior. But what he didn't see is that he was ruled by exactly those desires, by passion, ignorance. He didn't see it as, okay, I'm actually obsessed with material enjoyment. No, he said, I'm free now because I have more power to pursue my desires. And that's also a mentality we find that is nurtured in our society, in our day and age. We think freedom is if I can fulfill all these desires I have and even create more, because I'm free to do so. That is the mentality, that is cultivated. But actually what is important is to see, okay, I'm bound by desires. Because we can think of in our life, as soon as something doesn't go the way we like it, or we don't get something we really want, what is happening? We are very affected. Our mind gets perturbed, perhaps very angry, frustrated, sad, down to being very depressed. So there we can see actually desires are something that rule us, and we will depend on that they are being fulfilled. Otherwise they give us a lot of trouble. we all have experienced that, and maybe experience that right at this present moment in our life situation. So this cannot be stressed enough, this point, how actually desires, or like the need to wanting to in some way control or enjoy material nature, that this is the actual problem. Prabhupada also said it's the disease the soul has when it comes to the material world. We are affected or infected by the material energy with the false ego mentality. So Hiranyakashipu managed to climb up the ladder to a very high point, so where his enjoyment, of course, was great. He didn't have to suffer much. But he controlled, it's also said in some places, he controlled everyone except his own senses. They controlled him. And Prahlad Maharaj is asking Lord Narasimhadev to actually kill those desires. When we hear this verse we read in the beginning. And Prabhupada uses the phrase, he said like that Hiranyakashipu is the representation, how did he say it? He said, therefore we should always offer our prayers to Lord Narasimhadev, who killed Hiranyakashipu, the personification of material desire. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport, twice he says that devotees should pray to Lord Narasimhadev for actually becoming free of desire. He says at the end, any devotee aspiring to be free of material desire should offer his respectful prayers to Narasimhadev as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. So because Narasimhadev is the protector, we can see him as protector also of our physical body. That's also one part. There are many prayers that relate to the need for being protected physically. There's some mantras, but there's also protection of consciousness. The Narasimhadev protects our consciousness from influences. Latest at the time of death, that we maybe have a clear mind. I think the greatest blessing we can have is that if we are at the point of having to leave this body, that we have the consciousness of remembering Krishna and remembering how we are spirit soul. Because if you're too much affected by all kinds of stuff in our mind, that may cause us to enter into another body. So therefore I would feel like if someone, for example, sometimes we see that when devotees are getting sick, or spiritual leaders, gurus, then often there's prayer, and it seems like often the prayer is directed toward, oh, please restore his health, let him remain longer, or like stuff like that. Although I wonder whether this is really what we should pray for. I personally would feel more blessed if people would pray, if they would pray for me, say, please protect his consciousness, that he remains in clarity about certain spiritual subject matters, that he's not clouded by all the stuff going on in his body, because it's said at the time of death, a lot of stuff happens, you know, that it overpowers your mind, and also your body goes through a lot of pain, perhaps. So, like this, that we are blessed with that. So Hiranyakashipu had his time of rulership, and in between, although he was big time into enjoying his senses, he went to perform tapasya from time to time. And once he went, the demigods took the opportunity to kidnap his wife when they tried to conquer his place. And his wife, Kayadu, was pregnant at that time. And the plan of the demigods was, okay, let's take her, and when she gives birth, we kill the child. Kind of a cruel thing to do, but they were so afraid. I thought, okay, if another one of these Hiranyakashipus, you know, takes birth, and then we are finished, you know, then it's no hope. But then Narada Muni intervened, saying, "Listen, we can, first of all, it's a married woman. You cannot just take the wife of someone else, and you know what to speak of killing the child when it comes out of the womb." And he already knew it will be great devotee, so therefore, please, I will take care. So he took over. He took Kayadu to his ashram, and she felt safe there. From the descriptions, there's not much. We don't hear much about her, despite that she gave birth to Prahlad Maharaj. But there it said she also had a desire to stay there and give birth there. Theoretically, she could have been brought back earlier, it seems, but she wanted to give birth to Prahlad Maharaj in Narada Muni's ashram. And while she was there, she was obviously a very dedicated religious woman who pleased Narada Muni with the way she behaved, the way she served, the way she responded to whatever was going on. And Narada Muni spoke to her on transcendental subject matters. So in this way, Prahlad Maharaj in the womb benefited from that. And here's also an important thing that points to the protection of women and children in our culture. And in the Varnashram Dham system, it's always, we have this emphasis on protecting women, children, cows, and so on. This is protection that actually, first of all, a woman in this state, but also in generally, is in a safe environment, that also her mind is undisturbed, and that she also can cultivate transcendental knowledge and consciousness herself, because she will, she is the biggest influencer on the child. You know, it's that the nature of the child is more like according to the mother, not so much to the father in the first place. You know, so, and she was in a place where she felt well protected, safe, and then also the child, of course, had benefit from it. You know, and then even like a very spiritual benefit. So therefore, when Prahlad Maharaj was born, he already was injected with, so to say, he was immune to this material disease, where his father was infected by Maya, by material energy, but Prahlad Maharaj was immune to that because of Narada Muni's influence. So then we have this triangle where Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, Narasimhadev, how it centers around their relationship with each other. Actually, in the first place, Prahlad Maharaj had a relationship with Govinda. He actually prayed to Govinda, because Narasimhadev at that time, so to speak, wasn't, I mean, it's not correct to say not existing, he wasn't manifest as such, because it said he took that form based on also the blessings Brahma gave to Hiranyakashipu, because he had to find a form and a situation that allows him to kill Hiranyakashipu, and at the same time still protect the promise of Brahma. No, he could not just go and nullify Brahma's boon, because this would also be destructive for Vishnu and his reputation. So he had to find a way to that all the boon is fulfilled, but also he can kill Hiranyakashipu. And so then he manifested this very particular form. It was a mixture of man and lion, and also in a particular time, particular circumstance, so that Hiranyakashipu could be killed. And also the scenery itself is a very interesting and detailed story. So, but perhaps we will hear about that anyway later in the afternoon when there will be kata. So I think I would stop here for now, unless there are any comments or questions in regards to what we just heard.
Кем был Кешава Махарадж в прошлой жизни?
I don't know that. Someone else knows? No? So yes, also if you have the time, the opportunity, it's to study also the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, because this was one famous prayer where we just read the verse, starting with Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in later cantos, in the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj speaks more extensively, and it's very instructive. There's so many important lessons, and also, of course, the pastime itself. You know how Prahlad Maharaj is going through Gurukul, and at the end also how Lord Narasimha Dev appears. Grantat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Narasimha Dev Bhagavan ki jai.
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Ja. Du musst die viel verschiedene lassen. Also das das nicht. Ja, das stimmt.